Greetings, YouTube. Today I'm going to talk about some gaming books. 3 to be exact. Harpies, Ogres, and Centaurs. All from the Mongoose Publishing Slayer's Guide series. And the order I just showed you them is the order I find them for utility. I don't think that the Centaur book is ever going to be that much use to me. I don't see Centaurs as bad guys. I am never going to use them as enemies, unless it's a one-off. As a culture, I just can't see them coming into a great deal of conflict with most player characters. I guess it is possible, particularly if you, I guess the player character decided they were going to spoil some kind of elven, sylvan forest kind of thing going on. But for the most part, I see Centaurs as at best neutral and possibly an ally. So this book isn't going to ever see much use for me. It's got information in there on how to be a player character, stats and write-ups and abilities and things, so that's useful in case if you ever want to play a Centaur. But I just got to say that my investment in this was very small, and I don't regret buying it, but I would not recommend it either. Another problem I've got with the Centaurs is how do they consume enough food? I know it's a world of magic, but horses, even in D&D, eat a lot. There's a reason they eat a lot. They're a really big animal. And the Centaur don't seem to do that. Centaurs don't seem to consume food at that same level. And they hunt, so they're obviously are consuming some kind of meat. So how do they reconcile an herbivorous body part with meat consumption? So I don't know. It's a little bit of a mystery to me about how it functions. I'm probably overthinking it. So, Centaur book, not all that useful. Next is the Ogre book. Now this is a little more traditional. The ogres are, 3 different ogres are depicted. The classic ogre, the Marrow, the aquatic version of ogres, and the Ogre Magi, which have a distinctly Asian flavor and are spell-using, I believe it's spell-like abilities is what they have, though of course they can pick up caster levels if they so choose as a player character class. Now I found this a good deal more useful. I like ogres in general. I think they're a really good low-level threat because they're tough, and at mid-levels you get a number of ogres at the same time are still a credible threat, and at high levels they make good mooks. When the party's taken on giants and stuff, ogres are still good servants and good mooks for giants. So I see a lot of use with ogres. I've always enjoyed running them. And Marrows, the aquatic version, have always played a part in my games as like river monsters. They're great river monsters. At a low-level game, one of them plaguing a section of river, attacking boats, is a good, challenging adventure. And again, at higher levels, you have an entire clan of them. They're an ally with maybe some pirates, or they're just, staked out a new piece of territory because they got driven out of their old territory, and that leads you into what drove them out of there, So I think they're really good monsters to use. And the Ogre Magi are always nice. Spell-like abilities, throws characters off. They're not expecting it. Nice Asian flavor. I like to have that little ethnic options in there, and the whole concept of them being this innately magical race. It kind of makes me think of them as almost like a lesser genie in some ways. So I really like ogres. So that is definitely a plus. And the last is the Harpies. Now this one was the most interesting of the 3 reads, because the Harpies have always, to me, seemed a little bit limited. And from the Greek mythology, they're only really seen, I think, in one legend. So, it's a little bit of a limitation to how they can be used if you're basing your knowledge solely on the Greek myths. This book takes Harpies into new directions. It gives you subspecies, which allow you to have different ideas of how these can be used, prestige classes that are appropriate to a flying creature. So I really think that this Harpy book is a must-buy for anyone that wants to have an aerial monster that has some legs as well as wings. So they can use this monster against a mid all the way up to an upper level party. And I enjoy the flavor that the Harpies bring. Or in the Centaurs, the Greek mythology I think kind of holds them back and limits them in some ways. But to me, the legend of the Harpies makes it more interesting. So maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm prejudiced against the Centaurs because I want them to be something more than just what they were in the Greek mythology. While the Harpies, they don't see a lot of play. I never used them much myself, but after having read this book, it makes me think, I really want to use these monsters. I think they would make a really good addition to any campaign. So, out of these 3 books, I recommend Harpies and Ogres, and I can't really recommend the Centaurs.